Good evening. This is Rudy Giuliani, and this is the Rudy Giuliani Show on Lindell TV and on X, and possibly a few other places. We'll start off tonight with, oh my goodness, we've been waiting so long for this, haven't we? Supposedly the final files on the Kennedy assassination that we should remind ourselves, because it shows the dishonest Justice Department inherited by Donald Trump and Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. These were supposed to have been delivered like a month ago, and they were delivered, and they were the final ones. And then it turned out that the Justice Department or the FBI or the Southern District was hiding numerous a truckload of other files. So would I like to bet my life that this is the final version? No. And would I like to bet my life that this hasn't been culled to take out the most significant and the worst possibilities? No. So still worth going through, because maybe we'll get some perspective on an assassination that has, of course, shocked the nation when it happened, changed the nation in many ways, changed the world in many ways, and has been the subject of bitter controversy and dispute almost since the publishing of the Warren Commission, which I don't remember the original reaction to the Warren Commission, whether it was trusted or not, but I don't remember back to a period of time when it was trusted, to tell you the truth. The doubts began, and then they grew and grew and grew, largely because logical things that should have been followed up never were. There is no question that the FBI is building that kind of thing with the two assassination attempts of then presidential candidate Trump, now President Trump. In fact, I would say they're doing an even worse job. You could probably give me the worst and most ridiculous and crazy conspiracy theory for the Trump assassination, and I certainly wouldn't be able to refute it, because I have no facts to refute it with. The first guy attempt, he's disappeared. He never had an existence, I think. He might be the only person on the face of the earth of his age, in America at least, doesn't have an online presence, although he did have bank accounts and accounts all over the world. We don't know a damn thing about him. And his family stays locked up in wherever the hell they are, and never interviewed, never required to talk, never subpoenaed, never. And the FBI announced the day after it was asked, what can you tell us about the shooting? They said, we just began to investigate. We don't know anything yet. We'll be in touch. And then they said, well, was it a one-person job? Oh, yes, it was one person. Yes, it was one person. They couldn't possibly have known that. At that time, if they couldn't tell you anything about the case because they didn't investigate, how would they have known whether it was one person, two people, three people, 4, 5, 6? It might take some time to figure that out. But to exclude the possibility before you know gives you an idea of the horrible bias they have. And of course, I'm sorry, but they were an organization that tried to bury Donald Trump any number of ways other than actually killing him. They tried to kill his political career. They tried to kill his presidency. They tried to kill his reputation. They tried to destroy everybody around him, including yours truly. And they're the ones investigating who tried to kill him. And you think 50 years from now, anybody's going to believe it? Or should? So we used AI to analyze the 63,400 pages of newly declassified JFK files. By the way, some of which were classified, some of which were not. They were released on March 18th by the National Archives. And they do reveal, to the extent we can quickly, go through it, some new details about the CIA operations and the Cold War dynamics. And here, I guess, are the three key findings that, at least by the use of AI, because it's hard to really distinguish what's important and what isn't. I have my own very definite perspective on this, which I will tell you after. Not now. I won't let it affect this. But I will tell you what the sort of consensus is. First, there's a 1961 memo from Arthur Schlesinger Jr., who was, I would say, the Kennedy historian, the Kennedy intellectual, the Kennedy Harvard connection, and very close to the family. A 1961 memo from advisor Arthur Schlesinger Jr. shows Kennedy's frustration with CIA overreach, 20 plus agents in Paris alone, hinting at the mistrust that shaped his presidency. Should I comment on these as we go along, or just read them all off first?
Yeah, I will comment on them.
Well, so that's the first one. I don't see the significance of that. I don't see the fact that Kennedy was upset they had 50 agents in Paris would have led to the CIA wanting to kill him. I do not discount the possibility that the CIA was involved in his killing. I mean, I just simply don't know who was involved in his killing. But this seems, I think AI struck out here. Let's put it that way. The president says you got 50 agents in Paris and the CIA comes and kills you. My God, for that kind of criticism, the CIA would have killed every president. And they didn't kill every president. Two, the files confirm CIA surveillance of Lee Harvey Oswald in Mexico City in 1963. Note that's the year that Kennedy was killed, right? So that's very proximate to the time that he was killed. So this begins to have more relevance, right? Tracking his Soviet visa attempt with phone taps and chemical markers. It's a key piece of his pre-assassination story, raising questions about what the agency knew. This is a significant piece of evidence. This means that the CIA had him in their sights in more than just a cursory way. And this was a period of time in which the CIA and the FBI were not overwhelmed with presidential threats. After the Kennedy assassination, after the attempts on Ford, 2 attempts to kill Ford, and then after the almost murder of Ronald Reagan, the number of suspected presidential killers grew exponentially. I mean, there were a huge number. That's what I'm aware of. I first became involved in presidential protection when Ronald Reagan was shot. I was the Associate Attorney General at the time. I had breakfast with him that morning. I have a picture that I gave to my mother that she left to me of shaking hands with him that morning. And then that evening, I was in court at 11 o'clock at night with Judge Webster getting him arraigned. That's Hinckley, the one who tried to kill Ronald Reagan. Even at that point, the number of suspected people was huge. By the time we get to the 90s, and I'm mayor of New York and involved to some extent in the protection of Clinton and then Bush because of their frequent visits to New York, and the New York PD is a full partner with the Secret Service in that the number was astronomical, very large. You know, no criticism of it because they have to be there. It's so large that it's hard to be useful. You really have to use keywords and you have to use hunches and to know which ones to focus on. Now, I tell you all that because that was not true back when these guys were surveilling Lee Harvey Oswald. The list would be much smaller. I would think if they were following him in Mexico and tracking an attempt to get a Soviet visa, and they had known what I imagine they did, he was in Cuba, something we, of course, didn't find out then. He must have been high on their list. I can't imagine there were too many people in that era. It was hard to go to Russia, hard to go to Cuba. Aren't too many Americans walking around with guns like that, having had a spotty career in the military. Kind of, if you come on, take a look at Lee Harvey Oswald. You don't make him for a wacko? I don't know. If I were an agent, I would look at him. That's not a wacko. First time I saw his picture, I said, oh boy, that's a wacko. I know agents. I know how they use instincts. They were following this guy. That's a piece of evidence that I don't know how that was evaluated, but really kind of ignored by the Warren Commission. Remember, the Warren Commission was appointed by Lyndon Johnson, who has to be one of the chief suspects. Oh, I know nobody says that in the Warren Commission. Nobody says that here, which makes me highly suspicious that we got everything. You cannot conduct an honest investigation of this murder without investigating the person with the biggest motive. This is not like an ethereal murder. Murder is murder, president or prostitute. The person with the biggest motive to kill the prostitute, 7 out of 10 times the person who did it. The person with the biggest motive to kill the president is the person 7 out of 10 times who did it. Now, that doesn't mean he did it, but it does mean if you're an honest agent and an honest agency, he gets a big investigation. You think they had the balls to do a big investigation of Lyndon Johnson? No more than they did a big investigation of Joe Biden or the Democratic Party or all the people who for 5, 6, 7 years were trying to destroy Ronald Reagan. They're trying every single thing, including framing him. Wouldn't they be way high up on the list of the people who might try to kill him? That sounds shocking to you, or does that sound logical to you? If it sounds shocking to you, grow up. The third one, 1964 documents reveal shelved CIA plots to kill Fidel Castro using assets AMLASH and AMWHIP, opposed by RFK. Now, RFK was Robert F. Kennedy, the father of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Let me give you a little background here. If they hated John F. Kennedy, the CIA hated Robert F. Kennedy more, because when John F. Kennedy believed he was double-crossed by the CIA with regard to the Bay of Pigs and not told about the actual assets and the strength of the assets and the preparation for it in order to put the burden on him, he never again trusted the CIA. And he put his brother, the Attorney General, who, whatever else you think of the Kennedys or the Kennedy family, or was a truly great Attorney General. I know lots of stuff about how well qualified. Oh my God, he was the brother. But I would say until we get to, I hope I don't miss anybody in between. But until we get to Ed Levy, who straightened the Justice Department out after Watergate, or then to Smith and the Reagan era, nobody did much in the Justice Department. I mean, Robert Kennedy is one of the great attorneys general. For me, a crime fighter. Right? And also some of the cases he did, I finished. The Teamsters case. That's a quote from Vice President Bush when he defended me going after the Teamsters and everyone condemned me. President Bush said he's just finishing the work that Robert Kennedy began. So Robert F. Kennedy would certainly have opposed a murder of a head of state, because there's no way to protect your head of state if you're going to go around and start murdering heads of state. And if you're going to do it, you're going to have about 50 degrees of separation. There wouldn't have been 50 degrees of separation between them. Now, so this also doesn't strike me. The middle one strikes me as a very, very important piece of information, that they were surveilling that they had Lee Harvey Oswald in their sights before that guy, if he did, shot and killed John Kennedy. It does not impress me greatly that a year later, they put aside a plan to kill Castro that RFK had disapproved, because it's hard for me to make the jump that Castro would have had the capacity to kill Kennedy if he believed that. What you'd have to believe here is that the CIA had a plot to kill Castro, that somehow they revealed it to Castro that Kennedy wanted to kill him, and that therefore Castro wanted to kill Kennedy in order to stop Kennedy from killing him. Well, that would have been very, very poor intelligence on the part of both the Cubans, but more importantly, their allies, the Soviets. And the Soviets had good intelligence. If there was a CIA plot to kill Castro, and if the Kennedy brothers opposed it, in particular, RFK, Russia knew that. And Russia would have let Castro know that. So I don't see where Castro's motive comes in to kill them. If anything, Castro would want to kill the entire CIA, not the Kennedys. In fact, he's doing away with the guy who overruled him. And you could assume that killing him might put you at greater risk. He doesn't know the internal workings of the United States. I don't see Castro's gain in killing Kennedy unless he had totally false information that Kennedy was trying to kill him. And he really thought that it was smart for him to kill Kennedy before Kennedy killed him, not assuming that would mean people come track him down big time. So I don't know, all this time, I don't know what this added to it. Doesn't get me any further than where I was before, nor have they touched on any of the things that I want to see investigated, which I think they're afraid to do. I think that there should be a full, complete, and 1,000% effort to take the three people with the top motive and do a very, very thorough investigation of them, as there should be with Donald Trump. And to make believe that doesn't include the guy who became president as a result of Kennedy's death, who never would have been president without that. Lyndon Johnson couldn't get elected dog catcher. In fact, he almost didn't get elected dog catcher back in Texas. Remember his first race, he cheated with Abe Fortas to win. So the man had the immorality to certainly commit murder. He was a thoroughly dishonest man. He was an extraordinarily ambitious man and an extraordinarily unrealistic man. He never could have been president. Biden and Harris took away the standard for being inarticulate. But you couldn't understand half of what Lyndon Johnson said, and it wasn't just his accent. It was the fact that he mumbled. And like Obama, like Biden, like Harris, he had to read everything off a teleprompter. There's a great joke about Lyndon Johnson that was very popular during his time in office, and it was that Lyndon's staff was so angry that they'd have to write everything out for him. Even when the Boy Scouts came, they'd have to write out. They'd have Obama had that too. They had teleprompters for him to read. So one day they did the following. They put up a teleprompter and it said, "I want to welcome the Boy Scouts from Altoona, Pennsylvania. There are 14 Boy Scouts that have gotten their merit badge. I give them the highest respect and honor. You're on your own, Lyndon."
That was pretty good.
It's like when Biden is stopped. They said repeat. But in any event, there's more. Or if there isn't more, it's extremely suspicious. You mean nobody investigated Lyndon Johnson? Nobody thought, well, we should do a hypothetical where he's the murderer and let's see what the evidence is. I mean, biggest motive. It took place in Texas. Unbelievably crooked. Feared he's going to be thrown off the ticket. Had what appeared to be pathological desire to be president and an unrealistic one. Put together the Warren Commission that screwed it up and never had the guts to make him a suspect. Faulty murder investigation that wouldn't pass, wouldn't get a D grade in the New York City Homicide Division of the New York City Police Department. What a piece of crap investigation. And the Trump one is worse. So one place says 30,000. One place says 30,000. Another one says 63,000. And then some say 80,000. Well, I guess it's 80,000 altogether. Now, I mean, it does list some expenses paid by Central Intelligence Agency, connections with them. So I think that's the thing that is underlined by these new records is that he had a close connection with the CIA, and therefore why wasn't he under surveillance? That's a good question, but it doesn't lead you anywhere because there's nothing else to connect it to. So maybe there'll be more in it when it's gone through in greater detail rather than just a quick AI analysis or speed reading analysis. And of course, we'll keep you posted on it because I really do think it was the beginning and it continues a part of the fear that Americans have of a deep state. And it is so similar to what's being done to the Trump assassination that it's scary. Well, the astronauts have returned. Isn't that wonderful? Butch and Suni and have Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams have both returned, along with their two assistants, one an American, one a Russian. And it was a very, very dramatic but very safe landing. And we do have to thank, without any doubt, and there they are in the water. Well, no, there's the capsule. And there we have somebody coming out of that. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? So this was off Tallahassee in the Gulf of America. Anyone who wrote Gulf of Mexico is fired. This is the christening. I consider this the christening of the Gulf of Mexico. Right?
Oh, the Gulf of America.
No, the christening of the Gulf of America. The dechristening of the Gulf of Mexico. Sorry. So they've been taken to the Johnson Space Center in Houston. And what do you think? You think I should keep my little idea secret and just leave it for who I gave it to until we see what happens?
I think we should keep everyone guessing.
Okay.
I think we should.
Okay.
But it's your call.
We'll see. We're going to see if we can get something done during this show that'll be interesting for you. Okay. Do we have any? Do we have a little? Have they done an interview? By the way, have they done an interview?
I do not believe so. I think they're in quarantine of some kind. That doesn't mean they can't do an interview, though.
There's a video number 8 here of their thanking Trump and Elon Musk.
Yes.
I think number 8. Let's see if we can play number 8.
We're coming back before long, so don't make all those plans without me. We'll be back before too long. I can tell you at the outset, all of us have the utmost respect for Mr. Musk, and obviously respect and admiration for our President of the United States, Donald Trump. We appreciate them. We appreciate all that they do for us, for human spaceflight, for our nation, and we're thankful that they are in the positions they're in.
Maybe those people who are destroying Tesla vehicles and threatening Musk and his family, maybe they should shut up, huh? He's contributed a lot more to this country than you have. So leave him alone. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
This is Rudy Giuliani, and we are back with the Rudy Giuliani Show. And the reality is, you came back so fast, you deprived me of a cookie. If I look hungry, you'll see. So Chief Justice John Roberts has his panties in a Twitter, I guess. I'm sorry, I don't mean to say that. I have great respect for the Chief Justice. I think I know him from way back as a young man working as an assistant in the office of William French Smith when he first came out of law school. He's brilliant. Some of his opinions are startlingly good, but he does, in my humble opinion, worry too much about the politics of the court. My view is, write the correct decisions and take the lumps. But in any event, that you have all different views of the court. I do think what he's doing now is improper. I think to say that judges are not impeached or shouldn't be impeached for their rulings, that they should just be that they just should be appealed in appellate courts, first of all, is an extraordinarily unrealistic view of the modern corrupt world in which we live, which he's sitting on top of and hasn't done anything about. I mean, he sat there as the district court in the District of Columbia, right in his own city, acted like a court that could have been in Nazi Germany or the Soviet Union. I mean, I was found liable without a trial. Pretty interesting. That was Beryl Howell. Beryl Howell was so bloodthirsty to put J6 people in jail, she called judges in and told them they didn't give high enough sentences. Never said anything about that. How about and it is the judicial system in general. How about a man being indicted, nobody telling him what the crime is? That happened to John. That happened John Roberts to President Trump. I don't know if that's ever happened in Anglo-American law. But you sat there with your mouth shut when that happened. You also sat there with your mouth shut when even when it came time to try the case, they never told Trump what the crime was that he was effectuating by the alleged false statement. That isn't like an astounding violation of due process that shocks the conscience? And that solidifies the fact this is a political persecution? Sitting in that ivory tower where you sit, you really didn't think that the 4 cases brought against Trump in the election year, none of which looked like it had much legal basis to it, wasn't done for the sole and only purpose of stopping him from being president, just like the phony Russian collusion, the hard drive that was covered up. I mean, I don't know, where do you live in a below the ground? Now, I'm only saying that because if you kept your mouth shut about that, what do you open your mouth now for? And misleading people. You know, a lot of people think judges can't be impeached because of what you said. You know that's not true. You know the Constitution better than I do. You know that Article 2 of the Constitution provides for the impeachment of judges. You also know that 15 have been impeached throughout the course of our history. And you know 8 of them were removed from office. You also know that's the only way we can get rid of a judge who's a lifetime appointment. So we better have impeachment, or we're going to be stuck with like an Abe Fortas, who was a crook, Lyndon Johnson's guy, right? He wasn't impeached. He had to resign because he was a crook. He's the one who it's alleged stole the votes for Johnson in the first election. And he was on the austere Supreme Court. Or Justice Douglas, who used to, talk over opinions with Franklin Roosevelt, and wrote most of the craziest, lawless opinions written by any justice of the Supreme Court. Made up the penumbra of constitutional rights from which he could create a new constitutional right as if he were James Madison or Hamilton. Thank God he wasn't. He was an extremely left-wing, lawless judge. There's nothing in the Constitution, the laws, or the tradition of the United States that says the judges are above criticism. In fact, they're given lifetime. You guys are given lifetime appointments so that you can take criticism. And then the minute it happens, you want to put people in jail. You want to shut them up. You want to stop them from speaking. Well, there's no amendment that allows you to do that. There is one amendment that tells you not to do that, and that's the First Amendment. But boy, when it comes to you, if it's the First Amendment, doesn't mean shit, right? So when you hear John Roberts say that, judges shouldn't be impeached, you just say to yourself, well, that's his version of the Constitution, not our founding fathers. Judges damn well can be impeached. And if a judge is acting lawlessly in his opinions, that would be a very good ground for impeachment, because that's violating the law. That's obstructing justice. On the way to Venezuela were no doubt people who, if brought back, probably are going to rape, murder, or kill a few people. So the president was acting at the highest level of his authority, and that is to protect the United States by sending these murderers out. Was every single one of them a murderer and a rapist and a child molester? Probably not. Were a good number of them? Yes. If they came back, is there a possibility they'd be let out, escape, and kill somebody? Well, sure could be possible. I mean, it is kind of weird they're spending a lot more time on all of these murderers, rapists, perverts, child molesters, and how they're treated and are they treated properly than they ever spent on Laken Riley. In fact, they wouldn't have spent any time on Laken Riley if we didn't make a big deal out of it. And then when they did spend time on it, Biden couldn't even bother to get a name right. So it's very, very disappointing when you believe in the Constitution and you know that there's a man as brilliant as John Roberts who believes in the Constitution. One of the most disgusting things for me to see is cowardice. It makes my stomach turn when I see cowards. And this is his problem. This is his problem. Should have kept his mouth shut. And if he wants to talk out, he should have talked out when our country was being, our country's justice system, for which he ultimately is responsible, was being handled like it was, in a fascist country, a Nazi country. I mean, he didn't get really upset when, for the first time in the history of this country, a president went ahead and entered into the Banana Republic practice of indicting his predecessor on a case that a lawyer as brilliant as John Roberts could look at and say, "Are you kidding me? Are you effing kidding me?" Which you picked the one with the documents he was going over under the Presidential Records Act when the other guy stole documents of the senator, and they never even bothered to do anything about it. That was a dispute between the National Archives and the president. That wasn't a criminal case. And you, John, know the lawyer who did it. You excoriated him and made nothing opinion as one of the most unethical prosecutors you ever come across. You're smart enough to know the Attorney General picked him because he was unethical. You know that Garpupel picked him for that reason, or you just you're very bright, but you don't have any common sense. I mean, now if you were in Garpupel's place and you were going to pick somebody to be fair and impartial to Donald Trump, you sure as hell wouldn't pick Blackjack Smith, would you? Not after you had to reverse his case against McDonald 8-0 because he was a despicable, unethical prosecutor. You know why he picked a despicable, unethical prosecutor? Because he wanted a despicable, unethical prosecution. You see, you're smart enough for all this. So that's why you can't do these things like say, "Oh, I'm so upset that he's talking about impeachment of judges for their rulings." Well, he's allowed to talk about impeachment of judges. It's in the Constitution. And he's allowed to talk. And he's allowed to have an opinion. And if you want to keep talking out on political matters, how about you do it on both sides? And when they're framing a presidential candidate and obviously trying to stop him from becoming president with 4 prosecutions in 1 year, you might point out nobody ever gets prosecuted 4 times in 1 year, is expected to go to trial 4 times in 1 year. It'd be just like almost a per se violation of due process. I mean, there were so many things you could have said that would have helped our country during its blackest moment. In fact, when the history of this is written, there's going to be a big chapter about how John Roberts was off in a very well protected little shell because he might be a very bright man, but he's a constitutional coward. And you just kind of put a final chapter on that book. You really proud of yourself doing that? And then trying to figure out when you're going to vote conservative, when it's popular and when it's not, or when it hurts the court or it doesn't hurt the court. You know what hurts the court? When you give an intellectually dishonest opinion, John. That's what hurts the court. But when you make comments like that and it's all one-sided. I mean, there's nothing particularly improper or wrong about the president saying a judge should be impeached. There was something damn well improper about what they did to him, both in the federal courts and in the New York courts. And you're on top of all the courts. And you kept your cowardly little mouth shut during that. So keep it shut now. Judge Boasberg, I don't understand as a lawyer how he gets jurisdiction once these people are outside of his territorial jurisdiction. Once they're gone, he has no right to say their rights are violated or not violated, or and I don't understand how he gets to interfere in this. We didn't elect this Barack Obama liquor to protect us. And the 1798 Alien Enemies Act may be old, but nobody ever said it's unconstitutional. So you issued your injunction a little too late, Judge. That's happened to me any number of times, either on either side, where the judge issued the injunction too late. That's how I got Joe Bonanno in jail. He was held in contempt. They were going to go in state court where they could fix it, along with the hospital that would fix it for them, to say he was going to die of a heart attack if I put him off in a federal penitentiary. And the night before they did it, I got my friend Howard Safer, who was the head of the witness protection program, and I said, Howard, can you send a plane to Tucson, Arizona? The plane got there at 4 a.m, and off went Joe Bonanno for the first time to prison in 25 years, after he had bought his way out of and lied his way out of all the other times by saying he was going to die of a heart attack. And the judge in Arizona was so angry. Oh, was he angry at me? He never apologized when it turned out that Joe Bonanno lived 22 more years with this heart condition that he said he had. That my doctor, a very brave doctor, had testified was completely made up. And he gave the opinion Joe Bonanno would last longer than anybody in court. Well, he almost did. He lived until he was 100. I forgot the judge, but I'm owed an apology. I'm owed an apology from a lot of people that don't apologize to me. So I want you to know that the president is correct. Judges can be impeached. For the right reasons, judges should be impeached. They're not God. And they can be criticized. Because like all of us, they may get upset and they may cry and they may even stamp their feet. But unlike us, we don't have lifetime appointments. So one of the reasons we gave them lifetime appointments is so we can beat up on them intellectually. I don't get that. I've never understood. And if you are a judge and you get swayed by that, quit and go do something else. I used to tell my assistant U.S. attorneys, particularly as we started to do the mafia and terrorist cases, and they wanted to be in the criminal division rather than the civil division, I used to tell them they can get threats. I said, in most cases, they're probably not going to be real in the sense that they're going to happen. But in each case, we're going to have to take them seriously. And in each case, it enters your mind or your wife or whatever. And if you can't take that kind of thing, go do something else. Don't do this if you're going to find that unnerving. Well, if I issue an opinion and somebody says I'm a Nazi because I issued the opinion, it's going to affect me, I don't belong being a judge. I didn't belong being a mayor. They called me a Nazi then. I knew I wasn't, and I went ahead with workfare. So I don't have any sympathy for these people who say, oh, you can't try to influence the judge with the things that you say outside of the judge. A jury? Sure. A judge? If you get influenced by things said outside the court. Now, murder, violence, the kind of thing Schumer did to Kavanaugh, yeah, that's different. Now you're talking about violence. When we say the guy should be impeached, I mean, that's no more saying that Trump should be impeached. Nobody went to jail for saying Trump should be impeached. Jesus, I think they got Pulitzer Prizes for it. So even John Roberts doesn't tell the truth all the time. Isn't that a shame? Nor is he fair and impartial. Said nothing about anything that happened to Trump. All of the destruction of our justice system, the two-tiered system of justice, the ridiculous indictments, indictments without crimes, statute of limitations blown out of the water, right to counsel trashed. The pristine leader of our justice system watched all of that go on as if he were presiding over, a court in Munich in the 1942s, 43s. And now all of a sudden the president says that a judge should be impeached, and he's all upset. Even though a judge can be impeached, the president has every right to have that opinion. And if the judge can't take it, maybe he should go do something else. And you should tell the judge, call him in, sit him down, put him on a piano, like the Godfather did with Frank Sinatra or whoever that guy was. And slapped him across his face and said, "Come on, be a man. And if you can't be a man, don't be a singer hanging out with the mafia, or don't be a judge." We'll be right back. You all know I stand by the truth. And if I put my name on something, I truly believe in it. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce you to something I'm incredibly proud of. My own brand of organic specialty coffee, Rudy Coffee. Believe me when I say it's the best coffee you'll ever try. It's smooth, rich, chocolatey, and gentle on your stomach. It's so good, I even recommend drinking it black. It comes in 3 varieties, including what I promise is the best decaf you'll ever have. You can order now by scanning the QR code on your screen or by visiting rudy.coffee. By supporting Rudy Coffee, you're not just treating yourself to exceptional coffee, you're also supporting our cause, the cause of truth, justice, and American democracy. You'll also be supporting the Call to Action nonprofit, which is devoted to helping veterans and first responders, so you can make a difference and taste the difference by ordering today at rudy.coffee.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Well, this is Rudy Giuliani back again. We're having a little, like a little sidebar conversation like they have in court. Sometime I'll tell you what they actually say when you approach the bench. I had some hilarious ones. I tried cases in front of judges of all kinds. I tried cases against some of the greatest trial judges in the history of America. I tried cases in front of the dopiest trial judges in the history of America. And I definitely tried cases in some of the funniest in all of America. And I love trying cases. You can't imagine how much I love trying cases. I'd like to go back and try one more, and I know who it is, and I'm not going to tell you. You're going to have to guess. Problem is, he'd probably be found incapable of standing trial. And if I put him on cross-examination, he might die. You guys never saw me cross-examine.
I wish.
You,
well, in a way,
no, but they don't have it on tape. When I got the when I got the congressman to plead guilty, that was one of my better ones. Yeah.
New York Times front page.
Yeah.
Are these out?
I was a baby. I was a baby then.
Cameras in the court?
No, there were no cameras in the court then. There were only those mean reporters who always make Republicans look ugly. You saw that, right? When we were in court, every time we were in court.
So does reading them do justice? Does reading the transcript do it justice, or do you have to?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's how I learned how to cross-examine, reading transcripts of great lawyers. I like listening.
Like nothing like hearing an oral argument from the the Supreme Court?
Oh, I listened to that whole oral argument. Ted was fabulous. He was so much better than who was that guy that ran the law firm that Hunter Biden and the guy who sued me were in together.
Yeah.
You don't remember it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mayor, can we recreate a cross-examination in a mock courtroom so we can
could.
see? I want you.
You never really do.
You can. You can't. You can't. You can't totally recreate it. But we'll find
every good
the
lawyer.
lowest.
I'll tell you two things about every good lawyer, every good politician too.
Has to be in the receiving
Every
end, the
good
lowest scoring
lawyer
member.
cross-examines much better when he does it than when he practices. Every good lawyer gives a much better summation than when he practices it. And every good politician is much better at a debate
Then when you practice.
than when he practices it. I mean, even I remember when Trump was getting ready for his first debate, and everybody was I knew he was going to kill her.
Yeah.
Because I know him for a long time, but I also know a performer. I know performers always hold back.
Yeah.
They also do things to shock you. Like I would love to say ridiculous things that my staff would get all nervous. I would say during the debate.
Yeah.
And then they go, you can't say that. You can't say that.
Right.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I won't say that. Yeah. I won't say that the president is a traitor or whatever. Well, wait a second. What president were we talking about? So, part of this legal thing is really necessary. We elected Trump because we knew we call it the deep state, but we have a completely corrupt government, almost top to bottom. Do you realize how difficult that is to turn around? These people have tremendous power. They got the power to kill. I mean, this is not easy. And it's all different parts, like the courts. So he is testing what really has been, he's testing and trying to reorient our government back to what it was, a government of the people, for the people, and by the people, not of the elites, right? And for the Democrats, and for the communists, and for the one-worlders. He wants to make it a government of the people, so that when you have a strong opinion about something, it's going to be dominant and front and center. And every lobbyist in Washington works against that because they work for the guy who's got the most money. They don't work for the guy with the best cause. And that distorts completely the process, because over a period of time, there are very few congressmen or senators who can resist that, because they all believe they should be rich. Sorry. Many of them believe they should be rich. And many of them do become rich. And when they do, there's no doubt how it happens. If you have a congressman who started off with a net worth of $1 million or less and ends up after 30 years in Congress worth $30 to $40 million, I don't know, unless somebody left him a lot of money. How the hell do you think that happens? You know how often that happens? Often enough so that Congress is the most disrespected institution in the country and not willing to do anything about it. So he's pushing legal boundaries, but he's pushing them back to where they should be. For example, this whole thing about interfering with the president's right to dismiss people from office. I truly believe, and I truly believe it is demonstrable from the Constitution and the debates at the Constitutional Convention, that Congress and the courts have no right at all, without acting unconstitutionally and illegally, to interfere in the president's ability to fire someone. This was debated very hotly in the Constitutional Convention. And because they have the right to advise and consent. Well, no, actually, the original debate was as follows. Should the president be allowed to appoint on his own who he wants and fire when he wants? After all, that's what an executive should do. That's what the king did. But we don't want a king. And it is a new government. It's going to be put together very quickly. Shouldn't the president have the help of his senior patriots, the Senate, in confirming people? And shouldn't he have some restriction if they get confirmed on his ability to fire them? And they came to opposite conclusions. They came to the conclusion that he should have the help of the Senate in selecting the highest appointees, not all, the highest ones, but that they should stay the hell out of his firing. Because they said hiring and firing are two different things. Hiring, you can always go find somebody else. And people can have different opinions about who's good and who's bad, and the president could miss something. But firing, the president's now disgusted with this guy. He doesn't want him anymore. How can you force a president to keep somebody he doesn't want? So yes, he got a role, a limited one in hiring. He got no role in firing. Now, if you go over to X, I'm going to explain to you how that plays itself out and how that's been bastardized by the left-wingers and the Marxists and who started creeping their way on the court with Roosevelt. And we have a totally different government than was intended. So we'll be back tomorrow. I hope we helped see the other side of it that nobody's giving you. That's what we try to do. And we are going to pray very, very hard for the people of Israel and Ukraine and Iran. And we are, of course, going to pray a prayer of thanksgiving to God for America. And tomorrow is St. Joseph's Day. And I'm going to tell you the significance of that when you come with me tomorrow. And now go over to X, and we'll be on America's Mayor Live.